And now I give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since we are planned to have 3 minutes for a statement, I will therefore not be very long-winded. Let me say that I've listened very carefully to everyone, and a lot of what's been said I agree with. One cannot remain unmoved in the face of a crime committed, especially when the crime is a crime of genocide, crime against humanity, or a war crime. And probably evil is also contained in legally unclear notions, and I think Mr. Matthijs will bear me out. Such phenomena as described as atrocities, brutalities, etc. At the core of these despicable phenomena is suppressing of the rights and the dignity of a human person, denying people's equality regardless of their race, ethnicity, religion, or language spoken, and social inequality. In the concept note, which was prepared by the Polish colleagues, is contained an appeal to early on analyze the relevant risks and threats, and the appeal to focus our attention on prevention. And in this context, I am compelled to refer to an important document. The document was passed on the 25th of October of this year. I am referring to a resolution passed by the European Parliament, and it is entitled "The Rise of Neo-Fascist Violence in Europe." The resolution notes that there is not a single country left in the European Union which has not yet encountered the threat of a growing threat of far-right violent extremism. It underscores that growing xenophobia in Europe resulted because there was an absence of effective measures to counter neo-fascist and neo-Nazi organizations. It states that the victims of that are already thousands of people, and this includes refugees and migrants, ethnic, religious, and sexual minorities, human rights advocates, politicians, and police officers. This is not me. This is contained in the resolution passed by the European Parliament. The self-same resolution quotes examples. For example, the murder of a British Labour MP, Joe Cox, the using of xenophobic slogans and fascist insignia by the far right in the course of a yearly November celebration of the Independence Day in Warsaw, the activity in a number of countries of neo-Nazi organizations such as the Golden Dawn organization, Generation Identitaire, the Nordic Resistance Movement. It also mentions the yearly multi-thousand gatherings on the 16th of March in Riga on Legion Day, where the veterans of Waffen-SS are being honored, and the attacks perpetrated by the Ukrainian nationalists from Karpatska Sich and the National Guards Regiment Azov, Right Sector, and S-14, attacks on gypsies, anti-fascists, and human rights advocates. Have you taken a look at today's UN spokesman morning headlines? I have it with me here on purpose, and with your permission, I'll read it out in English.
Nearly 90% of European Jews feel that anti-Semitism has increased in their home countries over the past 5 years, and almost 30% say that they have been harassed at least once in the past year, reveals a major European Union report published on Monday. The poll was carried out in 12 European Union member states and was the largest ever of its kind worldwide.
What is this if not an indicator of risk? What are the guarantees here that these negative developments, tolerated developments, are not going to become the very large-scale atrocities and once again bring the world to the brink of a crisis? In conclusion, I would like to say a few words about the right to veto. We did note that a number of colleagues today talked about the fact that it would be desirable to, when the Security Council is considering an issue having to do with the most serious of crimes under international law, then it would be desirable for the permanent members of the Security Council for them to refrain from using the right to veto. It was stated that the Security Council should not be paralyzed in such situations. Let me react to that by saying the following. The right to veto is not a way of imposing paralysis. It is rather an instrument, a reasonable instrument of retaining the Security Council from becoming a participant in questionable adventures, usually related to a gross violation in internal affairs of a state. And if the right of veto did not exist, and we need to thank the U.S. delegation especially for that, because they proposed that institution in San Francisco at the time. If we didn't have the right to veto, then I'm afraid that both the scale and the geography of democratic bombings in the world would be far wider. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Russian Federation, and